Hey, what's up YouTube? So today I'm gonna go talk about my character progress in TBC and also talk about I saw this interesting post on Reddit, right? And it really got me thinking about what their design philosophy used to be in PoE. And I wanted to share it and give my thoughts about it. So basically it was about how they designed the trading system to be and how they wanted loot to be meaningful as in terms of drops. So every monster that drops an item, they wanted us to have a thrill of thinking that we could get an upgrade. And that is just something that I don't feel like most people actually do. No one really plays PoE at the moment and looks for rares on the ground. In fact, I'm pretty sure most people with a high-end loot filter don't even show rares at all. So this character right now, I know I'm in a different game, but it's a Warlock. I'm level 69.8, so I'm going to go over like my leveling spec and the whole experience and what I've found to be enjoyable and not enjoyable about TBC. So my Warlock is currently 69.8. I'll probably be doing Karazhan tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. So basically, let's see this character's gear. So I didn't know that tier 3 lasts this long into TBC, so you can see I'm still wearing 4 out of 9 tier 3, and in terms of pre-raid bis, this is actually pretty good until pre-raid bis. So this is pretty much pre-raid bis, so I haven't been able to replace these pieces, so that's actually pretty good. Now, a little weird thing about TBC is that enchants you cannot actually buy a recipe to enchant it, so you actually have to find an enchanter and have everything enchanted. Now I switched my spec over to demo destruction, and I'm 39 points in destruction and 21 for demo, and 21 points is for demonic sacrifice to get fire damage when I sacrifice the imp. So the general playstyle of this build, right, is you put immolate on every single mob, and then you put Curse of Recklessness since we have a rogue in our group that needs the curse for more damage. And then afterwards, you pretty much just use Rain of Fire or Hellfire. Rain of Fire is pretty good. It doesn't pull threat as easily, so I heard something like you would pull threat the closer you are to the mobs, which I find really, really weird. But I guess that's how it works. And then you'll Hellfire if your tank has a lot of aggro. And that's pretty much about it for rotation, right? And then you immolate, you just spam incinerate over and over and over again. So if you look at the damage breakdown ever
Rocks left channel and disconnected.
of a fight, you'll see that I will. This is the damage breakdown, right? So this is how like simple, what's it called, like TBC rotation is. So don't let other people trick you into thinking it's like some intricate game just because it's the expansion to classic. It's still a complete joke of a game in terms of like there's like some things you could do, which is like use your trinkets to make the dots do more damage, but you see the damage breakdown what I cast the whole time. I casted 1 Shadow Burn, 24 Incinerates, 6 Immolates, and 3 Conflags. And yeah, and 1 Curse of Recklessness that lasts 2 minutes the whole time. Now, an interesting thing about TBC is how aggro works in the game. Like usually if you play like retail WoW, you pretty much just pop everything immediately at pull and you'll never have to worry about the tank not having aggro. However, in this game it's like completely different. I can't even multi-dot all the ads. I pretty much have to sit there just waiting around for like 5 seconds or so to let the tank gather all the mobs, and then I can actually cast my abilities. So it's a pretty different playstyle that I'm not really used to because I played retail and I just completely forgot about what the whole classic experience is or TBC experience, but I had no idea it was that bad. And then another thing about TBC that I don't really enjoy per se is how long some of the cooldowns are. So like we have our main way of losing threat and it's Soul Shatter and it happens to be a 5 minute cooldown, which is just crazy. But that's pretty much like the main gripes I have currently. Everything else is pretty good. I mean the combat is a little simple, but that's to be expected. So our leveling process was a little slower than usual because in order to unlock heroic dungeons in this game, you have to get revered in your rep. So we've done pretty much 1, 2 revered so far. So usually you could probably just spam the best dungeon possible to level super fast, but sooner or later you have to grind out the rep for revered. So we pretty much just did that method in order to So it's like you save like some time now, but you have to pay it back later. So we just decided to do the grind for the dungeons while leveling. And also another bonus is if you have a lot of quests, if you can't get XP anymore at level 70, the XP turns into gold. So in the coming days, we'll pretty much just be doing heroic dungeons a lot and trying to get badges from the bosses. And I think PvP with Arena actually comes out on June 12th, which I'm looking forward to. It'll be fun to try to get the, what's it called, the Gladiator mount, because the Gladiator mount is pretty OP in terms of move speed. Now, the one annoying thing about TBC right now is how some people are pretty far ahead because they played Classic. So some people, when they hit level 70, they will have a epic flying mount immediately and just be moving around the world at 280% speed, which means that they'll be able to get all the nodes on the map and they'll just keep getting richer and richer. So it's kind of like PoE, and like if you have a headhunter, then you're gonna get richer and richer because you can do 5-way services. You can farm Valdo's maps a lot easier. So, like any game, people who have a head start stay far ahead. But I'm pretty much gonna be doing some heroic dungeons every day, and then I'll probably start practicing for the gauntlet again. The character I've decided on is gonna be a berserker slam guy. So we'll see how that works. But basically, TBC has been pretty fun. I've enjoyed the Warlock experience. Doing dungeons all the time is kind of a blast and a nice change of pace. It's pretty slow paced. It kind of reminds me of like PoE if we went back and played, what's it called, like one of the slower leagues before all the clear speed meta became the thing. So what would it be like to play PoE back in like Delve League? If you ever watch any of the old school PoE videos, like maybe I can pull one up of like a gorge clear, you can really see how slow like builds really are. Nowadays it feels like everything revolves around having explode or some Herald of Ice chains or Herald of Ash chains or the explode gloves. And this game kind of illustrates like how PoE has evolved, right? Because this game has gone a lot faster in terms of WoW and retail, and PoE has the same exact thing, where it just feels like a completely different game now than it used to be. And I don't know if they want to go back to that in PoE 2, if they want the combat to be longer or the combat to be slower. Every time they show the previews, though, it seems like the combat is really slow paced, but maybe they're just trolling us with some bad build or something. But it'd be nice to see the combat maybe be at a little slower paced, just for some boss fight mechanics to show up more. Because right now it seems like every time you go to a boss, if the boss doesn't have phases, it'll pretty much instantly die. And yeah, so when I play the gauntlet race, I do bosses and I'm like, wow, these bosses actually have mechanics for the first time ever. But anyhow, let me go into this PoE post I saw about their design philosophy for items. So I'm on Reddit right now, right? And I'm browsing the, what's it called, the posts or threads. I see this thing, and it says easy trade reduces the number of times a character improves their items. People who are heavily engaged in trade perform fewer item upgrades to achieve their final build. They get there in fewer steps because they can easily buy items that are close to what they need. Simply put, their character progression is more about trading than it is about getting items from monsters. We believe that it's more fun to slowly and iteratively upgrade a character over time and to have a longer journey to gear a character up. Knowing that a monster could drop something that could improve your character is a great motivator for playing one more level. Now, I'm wondering, like, when I read this thing, knowing that a monster could drop something that improves your character is a great motivator for playing one more level. I thought that this person actually posted this thing, and because this was from another game, and that they're trying to make a point about, oh, PoE should adopt this philosophy that every single monster should drop an item, or have a chance of dropping an item that actually improves your character. Because right now, like I said earlier, that when I find rares on the ground, I literally do not care about them. I never pick up rares. And if I do pick up rares, it's to sell the item base and not because it's actually a good item that I could possibly use. So let's see. Easy trade. So I typed this into Google and what do I see? And it is actually a development manifesto from November 2nd, 2017. Now, this is a trade manifesto that they wrote about easy trade. So they said easy trade means reducing drop rates. Well, right now the game drops a lot of garbage. Easy trade reduces the number of times a character improves their items. I mean, that is technically true. They definitely have this point right. But the fact of the matter is, easy trade reduces the number of times a character improves their items. It's the same thing as like no items that are ever worth picking up also reduces the number of times a character improves their items because they just go straight to the trade site and buy the items. So rather than not having easy trade, they don't have good item drops either. An easy trade will make the disparity between different players too great. So all of these things they bring up are still problems in the game currently, because just because there's not easy trade doesn't mean that these points won't exist, right? Just because there's not easy trade, the only thing is these problems still exist, but we also have bad trade. So we have bad trade, and then we have all of these problems that still revolve around the consequences of having easy trade. So we still have a billion drop rates on items that we never pick up, and rares or any other things. And then they also removed harvest so that the number of times a character improves their items is completely gone. And most of the times now, I tell most people to just save up currency and buy the aura stacker helmet or boots, because it's just so hard to craft an item. Like, you can't find the item, and you sure as hell will not be able to craft it most of the times unless you want to waste money. Now, this disparity between the different players too great, this thing already happens. If anything, easy trade widens the gap or closes the gap, because a lot of people who, what's it called, like a lot of people just price fix because the trading thing is bad. Like, there's so many people out there who price fix and then like just buy the lowest price card or something, or div card. But yeah, I mean, this also makes it a lot harder to price items because there's not some easy auction house to see the price of items. Now, the availability of the trade macro and stuff like that has really helped out people to price their items. But if there's an auction house, it'll be a lot easier to search for items, especially in the game. Now, this is actually the point I actually agree with GGG, is easy trade allows for greater abuse by automation. This does mean that if there was a trade system like an auction house, people would probably snipe up items immediately. So like right now we have like live search automators, but if there was actually an auction house that was fully easy mode, then you could expect bots to pretty much immediately buy every single item out there almost instantly, right? So there's some good points about having easy trade, but the problem is they haven't addressed the other parts of the game that easy trade would be like bad for. Is they need to have more harvest crafting for better items, or some sort of crafting that allows you to improve on your items. They need to actually have meaningful drop rates or drops from the mobs that makes us want to use it for our character. And I don't know about this point. This point, I guess, is fair in a sense. And yeah. But basically, this thing that knowing that a monster could drop something that improves his character is a great motivator for playing one more level is just something that they've completely gone away from. Like, the only thing that a monster drops is usually currency, so I can go buy the item on PoE trade. Now, part of the problem is that double influence items exist. So because double influence items exist, there's almost zero chance that you ever find a rare that'll be worth using over a double influenced item. It would just never happen. So yeah, I mean, this is actually crazy that this is the design philosophy or how they want the game to be, because it's actually, I feel like it's gone the opposite way. A lot of times monsters just don't drop anything, and it's just like, I just feel like I'm a trash collector in PoE. I just collect a bunch of trash and then I trade it in at the scrapyard for my item, and that's how it feels like. Especially when you're looting a bunch of small currency in the Nemesis maps. But that's just my take on it, and I'd be glad to hear what everyone else thinks about the trade in this game and the loot they actually find on the ground. Because I feel like too much loot actually drops that's actually not meaningful. But mainly for like rare items or anything that we can actually use for a character. But anyhow, that's I just wanted to share this because I found it pretty interesting, since When I read this, I really thought that this was actually from a different game. Overall, I hope this video has showed you, like, I actually find it weird, like, I play TBC, but I've made all these like connections with PoE about how the game actually changes, because TBC or WoW and PoE are both games that have existed for quite a while now. Like, obviously WoW has been around for a lot longer, but you do see the changes in like design philosophy and what they want to do, because there's a lot of things in WoW that are just like mind blowing now as to why they never added. But some of the changes were really controversial. For instance, like having the group finder is a pretty big deal. Like from before, you can see there's just a bunch of people spamming LFG trying to like find the perfect person for their group. So that's kind of like this game, right? This game eventually gave in and gave in to a group finder. So maybe PoE one day will eventually give in and give us a auction house, at least for the currency market, right? There's really no reason for the currency market not to have, what's it called, a separate auction house or something, when most of the people that trade for the currency auctions are bots. So in the coming days, I'll probably do some more PoE videos regarding Gauntlet. I'm going to be playing a Berserker Slammer. I'm going to be using a two-hander because since the mods don't have multi-proj anymore, evasion and block with a shield is a lot less useful. But anyhow, I hope you liked the video, and if you liked the video, be sure to like and subscribe. I stream every day on Twitch, and I'll probably be doing a few more streams. I'll be doing Karazhan soon, and maybe a pug run of Gruul's and Mag's Lair. But anyhow, thanks for watching, and I hope you find more mirrors and exalts than I do. And gold now.